I'm actually not that like cranky about it. The only thing that really gets me cranky is having to fold the filter every morning. It's like you couldn't just manufacture this already folded. Like you really need me to do it just for the process.
It feels pretentious, right?
Yeah,
It's
it does.
I'm Neil Christensen, author of Dark White and Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey, and you're listening to the Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey audiobook podcast. On this show, every episode, I'll read you one chapter of Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey, and then we'll be joined by a guest, author, editor, reader, pundit, to discuss the chapter, its merits, and its failures. These will be frank conversations focusing on writing craft. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey. Chapter 5. At 6 a.m., I climb out of bed without having slept. Elle is still comatose, and I figure I'll let her sleep as long as I can. I put on my slacks and slide my bare feet into my loafers. After I pull my white undershirt over my chest, I head outside. The morning sun is still low over the city, due east down Roosevelt Road. It's a straight, uninterrupted ribbon of asphalt almost all the way to the lake. Traffic is light but steady. The square parking lot that sits in the center of the U-shaped motel, however, is silent. I stretch and yawn and walk across the gravelly pavement to the manager's office. I need to get some coffee. The lobby is old and musty. It looks as though it hasn't been renovated since 1973. Long, gold shag carpet is wearing thin in the high traffic areas. The formerly clear glass coffee pitcher is now only a shade or two lighter than its contents. Next to the pot is a small stack of white styrofoam cups and a couple of crusty bowls of sugar and powdered creamer. I fill a cup with coffee barely dark enough to hide the bottom of the cup and gulp it down. It's weak and bitter, as though it's been sitting in the pot for days. But I refill the cup and head back across the lot. In my absence, a couple of ladies have set up a small breakfast table in front of the room next to mine. They look young, late 20s or early 30s, but they're wearing old flannel nightgowns that look like they might have been stolen from my grandmother's closet. They have a rickety TV dinner stand between them, and they're sitting in collapsible card table chairs. There's a tall thermos steaming into the crisp morning air on the table, and two small paper plates holding toaster waffles and plastic silverware. They smile warmly as I approach. "Good morning, handsome," one of them says in a thick and friendly Texas accent. I smile back at the sound of her voice. "Good morning, ladies." "You move in last night?" the other one says in a slightly subtler accent of the same origin. I glance at my door. "Move in? God, I hope not. But yeah, we got in last night. My apartment burned down, so I needed a quick place to stay." "Oh shit, that's what all that commotion was? I'm so sorry. Did they know what caused it?" the first one says. "Not yet. Still investigating." "Well, welcome to the off-ramp to hell," she goes on. "Satan doesn't actually live here, but his place is walking distance." I laugh. "I'm Erica," she says. "This is my—" She tilts her head a bit, as if inspecting me, trying to determine what kind of man I am. "My friend, Robin." I smile and nod that I understand. "It's very nice to meet you, ladies." "The pleasure is undoubtedly all ours," Robin says. "Now, why don't you dump out that swill they pass off as coffee in there and pour yourself a real cup of joe?" I raise my eyebrows and turn my cup over. Erica refills it with coffee from their thermos. It smells rich and nutty and has a deep mahogany color that seems incongruous with the cheap cup it's swirling around in. I take a long sip and sigh with contented satisfaction. "That is good coffee," I say. Robin smiles. "Only the best here," she says with a twinge of irony. So, how long have you ladies been here at the Ritz? They look at each other and say in unison, About 3 months. I choke on my coffee. 3 months? In this place? Erica laughs hard and nods her head. It's actually not that bad. It has a kind of low-rent romance to it. I look around the rundown lot and the rows of brown steel doors wedged unevenly between the off-white cinder-block walls. I suppose I can see what she's saying. So what brings you ladies up here? I ask. Robin leans back in her chair and crosses her legs. Well, we're bounty hunters of a sort, she says with a glib satisfaction that gives me the impression this usually knocks people right over. I have to admit, it does take me by surprise. Really? I say with just the right amount of awe. That's right. So you're way up here chasing bail jumpers? Well, we're not so much of that kind of bounty hunter, Robin says. We don't do bail bond stuff no more. Well, we would, Erica cuts in, but it doesn't pay what it's worth. Exactly, Robin agrees. Plus, despite what they show on TV, it's actually pretty boring. We like a bit more excitement. Sure do, Erica says with a gleam in her eye. That's fascinating. What kind of bounty do you hunt then? Well, right now we're contracting with a private organization. I guess you might say we're acting as debt collectors. I see. The door to my room opens and Elle steps out looking like she's just gone 10 rounds. I smile at her and give her a wave. Good morning, sunshine, I say. You look like you could use a cup of coffee. I walk over and put my cup in her hands. I was just talking with our neighbors. Ladies, this is my wife, Elle. Sweetheart, this is Robin and Erica. They are fascinating women, and Robin makes a fantastic cup of coffee. Very nice to meet you, Elle manages. We make a few more pleasantries and refill our coffee from Robin's thermos. Then we excuse ourselves to our room for Elle to get cleaned up. Obviously, I'm not going into work today, she says. I figured as much, but we're going to need some stuff. Everything was in the apartment. I hand her the envelope with $900 in it. Go get some clothes, some supplies, and some food. Use my car. I'll grab a cab and go to the dealership to get new keys for your car and stop by the insurance agent to file a claim. She agrees. We clean up and she heads out for her chores. I use the phone in the room to call a cab. I do need to take care of the items I listed to Elle, but first, I need supplies. And the first item on that list is a gun. The city is really two very different places. To the north lie the gleaming towers of glass and ivory shades of concrete. To the south are rows of hollowed-out shells the city doesn't bother supporting. It's a class thing. It's a race thing. Push poor people and minorities out of sight and then just forget about them. It's not surprising, but it's disgusting. Crime exists in both places, obviously, but on the south side it's unapologetic. Theft, intimidation, and assault occur in broad daylight without the fear of interference by the police. Come to think of it, I guess it's not that different. Citizens skitter about, doing their best not to notice what's happening around them, or at least not to let anyone know they've noticed. Living in a place like this is hard. You have to keep your head down and do your best not to stand out. On the other hand, those very things make this the place to come when you have errands like mine. The cab drops me off 6 blocks from where I want to be, but it doesn't surprise me that he won't go any further. I pay the fare and give the driver a nice tip for getting me as close as he did. I left most of the money from my retirement package in the envelope back at the motel. Still, I brought enough to take care of what I need. That means I'm walking 6 blocks through the dusty back streets of the south side with $1,000 in my pocket and no gun. I'm walking east on 63rd Street, watching the neighborhood deteriorate around me like a time-lapse of the Armageddon. Folks on the street, sidewalks, and porches stare at me. Some shout behavioral instructions that are suggestive of self-love. After about 20 minutes of this, I finally reach my destination. Sotheby's law office is a piecemeal brick and cement block box with a few passing attempts at architectural flourish that do little to distinguish it from, say, an Afghan prison. It stands alone on an empty block, a bare dirt parking lot to his left and overgrown grass to the right. The second floor has a large picture window cutout that's been sealed up with 4 narrow mismatched windows. The first floor has 2 doors that appear to be competing for the title of the last door you'd ever want to step through. I smile to myself because I know it doesn't matter which door you choose. They both lead to the same stripped-out bare beams room that serves as the law office of Alex K. Pilson. Alex is a private lawyer that provides legal services at little or no cost to the disenfranchised poor of the city. He named his practice Sotheby's to make it sound more elite in court. He's good, very good in fact, and he wins a lot, partly because he knows the law cold and knows how to work the system, but mostly because he has a reputation for helping innocent people. It's almost ironic. Most defense attorneys, especially those on this side of town, have a rule about not asking their clients if they're guilty or not. Alex not only asks, he investigates, and he investigates hard. If you show up in court with Alex Pilson as your counsel, it's because he believes you're innocent, and if he believes it, then chances are good the court will too. The stories say that when Alex shows up for a meeting with the state's attorney, the SA rethinks the charges. More often than not, they're dropped or drastically reduced before any of his clients can make it in front of a jury. There are other stories, too. Whispered ones. Low voices in the front seats of cars parked in empty lots late at night. Those stories say that Alex plays both sides. If you're innocent, he'll get you off. But if you're guilty, you're better off taking a plea because if you walk, Alex will help make sure you get what's coming to you. They say he got started in the law when a vigilante named Gavin Gale bailed him out of a tough spot. After that, Alex became a lawyer to help the innocent, but continued to use his previous underworld contacts to provide information to Gavin. That was 20 years ago, though, and Gavin Gale is just an old urban legend. Mika Cole is the angel of death for baddies in this city. She's probably where those stories came from in the first place. And Alex Pilson is a straight-laced, upstanding lawyer that I just happen to know can get me a gun. I cross the street and approach the building. There are 3 tough guys in their late teens loitering outside. They see me walk over and take notice. The older one stands up and meets me at the curb. "Keep walking, Ringo," he says. I raise my eyebrows and put my hands in my pockets to make myself less threatening. "It's okay, buddy," I say. "I'm here to see Alex. I'm an old friend." And that's probably pushing it. I'm not really anyone's friend, and I'm sure Alex wouldn't classify me that way if he was asked. Truth is, I'm just hoping he's more committed to justice than he is to Mika, and that he gives me enough time to explain the difference before he has these kids turn me inside out. "You don't look like no one's friend," one of the teenagers says. "Actually, you look like a cop," another one adds. I chuckle a bit. "How's that funny?" the leader of the group says. "Look, kids, I take a right hook to my jaw and it drops me on one knee. The little ones jump on me, throwing punches to my ribs, kidney, and liver. They're persistent but weak, and as soon as I shake off the ringing in my head from the sucker punch, I grab one of them by the hand and give it a quick twist. His wrist breaks and he rolls off me screaming and crying. The other one jumps off me and scuttles back a dozen feet or so. I take a quick step in his direction and he jumps back further. I turn back towards the leader of the trio and say again, "I'm here to see Alex." I wipe my cheek where he hit me and see blood soak into the cuff of my shirt. The kid comes at me fast and sloppy. I step back and grab him by his right wrist with both hands. I two-step around him and pull his arm up behind his back. I give it a jerk and feel the ball joint pull out of his shoulder socket, a trick Mika taught me when I first started working for her. I press my right hand hard on the injury and he drops to his knees with a scream. "Thanks, fella," I say. The 2 wounded boys roll on the dirty asphalt street, moaning and grabbing at their injuries. The 3rd kid is running away from the scene as fast as his overpriced sneakers will let him. I leave the two delinquents on the street and walk through the door on the right. Alex looks surprised to see me. Surprised may be an understatement. He looks like he's seeing a ghost, but he recovers quickly and gives me a plastic smile that morphs into something more genuine. "Mal, what a surprise," he says, honestly. "I'm sure," I say. "I just mean, Mika didn't say you were coming by today." I laugh. I imagine Mika said I wouldn't be by at all anymore. "I don't follow," he says. "I'm retired." Alex just about chokes on his coffee. "Retired? Wow, well, good for you." "Yeah, sure." Mika was very gracious about it until she had my apartment building burned down. Alex's face goes flush for a moment. This whole visit is clearly rattling him. "Have you talked to her lately?" I ask. "A little bit this morning," he says. I nod and look around his room casually. I begin wandering the space aimlessly. "She didn't say anything about me?" He shakes his head. "No, not that I recall." "Alex," I say with a condescending tone, "you're a lawyer. You don't forget things." He shrugs like he's looking for words. "I'll get down to it," I say. "I asked Mika to get out. She said it was no big deal. She gave me a retirement payout and said to enjoy myself. Then I go home and someone blows up my place and burns it to the ground." "Mal," he's trying to sound professional now, "I'm sorry for your loss, but I couldn't sell that in court. That sounds like a coincidence. I don't see anything suggesting that it was Mika that set the fire." I tilt my head and give him a glare. "I also found out last night that the job I did the night before, my last job, it was a mistake. The client wasn't the right person. In fact, he was a witness for the prosecution in the case. He was due to testify in court yesterday." He frowns, and I can't tell if it's a put-on or if he's genuinely surprised. "Here's my problem," I say. "I've known Mika a long time." Alex nods. "Me too, Mal." "I know. And what I'm saying is that she doesn't make mistakes. I've never known her to fuck something up. She's meticulous," Alex finishes. I give a melancholy smile. "Meticulous. That's right. She's meticulous." "So you're saying—" "So I'm saying that if you can spare one, I could really use a gun." Alex stares at me for a long moment. He's thinking about what I've said and about what I've asked. He's trying to decide. He's playing a fast game of truth or consequences with himself. I stare back silently. There's nothing more for me to add. He understands what I'm asking, and he understands why. I can't tell if he believes it, but I'm pretty sure he knows that I do. He walks away from his desk and kneels down next to a tall stack of overstuffed file folders on the floor. He pushes them aside and lifts a section of floorboards. It crosses my mind that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. "What, did you guys get a Groupon or something?" He looks back at me confused. "Never mind," I say. "Guess you had to be there." When he returns to his desk, he has an oily-looking black handgun with a slide and a barrel like a largemouth bass. "It's a .45, he says. "I don't have any ammo. You'll have to get that someplace else." I nod in understanding. "Don't come back here," he says. "I won't," I assure him. "Maybe don't mention that I was here," I counter. "I most assuredly will not," he says. "You're going to need new thugs out front," I say, in an afterthought while I'm walking to the door. Alex chuckles. "Those fuckers don't work for me," he says. "They only think they do." I grab the door and swing it open. "Mal," Alex calls as I'm stepping out. I turn and look him in the eyes. "You're living up to your name," he says without a hint of humor. I give a knowing nod. "Watch yourself," he says. "This shit is bad karma." I leave his door open as I cross the deserted street and head back to civilization.
All right, you just finished listening slash watching chapter 5 of Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey on the Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey audiobook podcast. That is a mouthful that I am sort of getting tired of saying. We're going to have to come up with something better. But today, during our kind of review portion, the analysis portion, we've got Ben Schenkman on. He is a prolific author, and he is going to tell us what he thought of chapter 5 and in the greater context of the book as he's read. But first, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you write and what are you working on?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. So what do I write? I write primarily urban fantasy. I have a three-book series out right now. The series is called The Devil You Know. It starts out with My Boss is the Devil, which is the first book. And actually, if you don't mind, I can do the flashy thing here. So, three-book series out, and it starts off and then follows the journey of Nick, a young barista in New Haven, Connecticut, that gets a chance to change his life by going to work for the devil, and it often isn't what people expect. Um, so well, my work, pretty much all of my work tends to have kind of some dark humor in it, but often tries to focus on some larger topics. I think the tagline that I've given the series recently is that it'll have you laughing through your existential crisis.
I could use that right now. I'm not
Well,
kidding.
then it's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's the series I have out right now. Coming October 27th is my latest book, which is a new series starter or standalone. I guess it all depends on
Oh, well,
when.
it does.
Yeah, it's called Let Sleeping Gods Lie,
Okay,
and
so that's interesting because the last book in the Devil series is something about all the gods that you what's the name of the third book?
yeah, it's Too Many Gods in
Too
the
many
Kitchen.
too many gods in the kitchen. I know. I remember reading that and being like, "Oh, I have to tell you, I have all three of them on my in my cart on Amazon for the next pay period. Although I will say that I am very slow at reading, and until I finish my damn House of Leaves series, there's nothing else that is showing up on my Kindle. But I was particularly impressed with the idea of the Devil and Angel on Your Shoulder for the second one, and
Hmm.
then Too Many Gods in the Kitchen. I love that as a title. So I will definitely be reading those. But tell us about the new one.
Yeah, so Let Sleeping Gods Lie. I've kind of made a little bit of a niche for myself, I think, in that I tend to focus on it's urban fantasy, but it's magical realism in that it's the magic is grounded in the world in some way, often tied to religion or spirituality. The Devil You Know, the magic is really more a combination of spiritual contract law
Hmm.
and honestly, some pretty standard witchcraft because one of the characters in the book is a witch and ends up encountering other people like herself later in the books. Let Sleeping Gods Lie is more it's a bit of an anti-capitalist, anti-establishment take on urban
Okay.
fantasy in that the main character, Corbin Pierce, he is like an ex-Ivy League become community college anthropologist.
Okay.
So basically he's got the education and then effectively canned it in order to try and serve the public a bit better and is what I'm calling a spiritual environmentalist in that the conceit of the book is that the magic in the world is grounded in the indigenous flora and fauna and existence around it. And so it's kind of an anti-colonial take
Okay.
in that the people who colonized the area That magic is effectively taking over for the indigenous. It's like
Okay.
imagine urbanization as pushing the magic, that certain type of magic to the outskirts. And Corbin's job that he's taken on himself is to be basically like a protector of that.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of got a little bit of a twinge of like the American Gods thing of like that the gods kind of come from their environment as opposed to creating the environment. And I like that. I think it's also really interesting for me because definitely like the start of my writing journey way back, in my late teens, early 20s, was very kind of like what you're doing. Like it was very religious, sort of based. I've always been, as long as I can remember, at least I've always been an atheist, but I've always been very interested in kind of like religious doctrine, religious storytelling. And when I was in high school, the first prophecy movie came out with Christopher Walken, and like, yeah, I was so hardcore in love with that movie, and I started like writing all this like angel fiction, and it I'm sure felt very like the prophecy, but YA, like and I hadn't found my voice yet. It was me like learning to write and learning to tell a story and learning like um how to have a narrative. But it stuck with me for a long time, and I've still got this idea of a story I want to do someday about kind of this idea of God being immortal, but like in this idea that, created in his own image kind of thing, that God lives on earth and looks like a person
Mm.
and interacts with the world and it's like it's a seed of an idea. I have like a scene that came to me one night that I wrote down, but if I ever get back to it, it's one of those things that's sitting in the drawer.
We all need the drawer. Also,
Yeah.
I love that idea. I have a couple similar concepts. Not the same, but like similar vein.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to. Please keep in touch on that one. I'd love to hear how that goes if and
Yeah.
when you finally get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just add one more thing about Let
Yeah.
Sleeping Gods before? So, Corbin, as cool a character as he is, the thrust of the story, it really focuses on it's an indigenous myth of the Quinnipiac, which is an Algonquin tribe that lived in the New Haven area. And I say lived in that there are still some members of the Quinnipiac tribe that I'm sure exist in the world, but they're not really established as a tribe. Like they were never recognized by the state, and things kind of fell apart for a lot of the folks that were organizing that. But one of it's the legend of the sleeping giant, which is actually it's a state park. It's Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden, which is right next door, and so that plays a big part in the book itself. So people who like indigenous myths, people who like nature-based magic. People who like raccoons because there's a half spirit fat raccoon like quasi sidekick that shows up in the book.
Okay.
But one thing I will say, like, so I'm Jewish. I'm not an indigenous person, nor do I have any of that heritage. Character Corbin is not an indigenous person because do that's I'm not
Right.
gonna try and write from that perspective.
Sure.
Though there is a supporting character who is written as a member of the Golden Hill Poguesets, which is another Algonquin tribe in the area, and thanks to her also the current clan mother of the Golden Hill Poguesets like consulted and read an early copy of my book.
Well, that's wonderful. And I love that you reached out and had that kind of put in there as well. I think that is wonderful. Um All right, so let's dive in then. We're doing chapter 5 of Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey. Feel free to comment on chapters before chapter 5 as well, if it's relevant to, what you're feeling and thinking. And as I tell everyone, like, this is like writers group, this is like beta reader, this is like, we're not doing fluff here. It's about like giving actual, we love to hear the good things, but the things that didn't work or that troubled you are just as welcome in the conversation.
Okay. I have to start off with one thing, and it's
Hmm.
from chapter 1, and I don't know whether or not anyone's chastised you for this yet,
Okay.
but how dare you call Johnny Cash a hillbilly?
I have not been chastised for that yet, but you know what? The rhythm of it sounded good in the prose, so
No,
that's
no, it's it's perfect, and it evokes the right amount of
yeah,
outrage.
yeah.
So like I got it. I was just like, I think so. There is in fact there's a I made notes, and I'm referring to my notes, and it is literal quote Johnny Cash, a hillbilly in Terabang. Like I was beside myself for about 2 seconds, and then I got over it. But I was just like, all right,
Yeah.
it's a choice.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Uh-huh.
Okay, so let me get to my actual notes on chapter 5. And just the first note is I really liked it. Overall notes, like before I get into specific things.
Hmm.
It reads like a hard-bitten detective novel without a detective.
Hmm.
And I like that. Um, it's very descriptive prose. Like it has that, it's the same that hard-bitten thing and the like, she walked into my office and her legs
Yeah.
went up
The
to
stems and the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's that very smooth stream of consciousness for a sarcastic,
Hmm.
dark character.
Hmm.
So like uh, I'm living inside Mal's head. I like that it's first person. So for the record, I prefer first person narrative. Uh, I'm an urban fantasy reader and writer, so like first person POV is my bread and butter in
Hmm.
for both. But I think it works especially well in this book because without the internal monologue, I think Mal wouldn't read right. I
Yeah.
like from an external perspective, like it's
You would
I don't
lose
know.
the sympathy, right?
Well, yeah,
And the
I don't,
empathy.
and I think he might just read as a closed off, moody
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's important. Okay, should I just keep going through my
Yeah.
notes? Okay, I don't know if you know anything about my books, but I'm a coffee person. Um, the book one and the rest of the book one starts with a barista and it doesn't really let up from there.
Okay.
I myself have at least 7 different methods of brewing coffee in my house. So,
Well, I will tell you that my partner, my girlfriend, my wife, however you want to call her, um, she tells me all the time that our love is second to her love for coffee, and that she has a deep and very intimate relationship with coffee. And we have gone through all of the brewing methods in our house, and we are currently using the Chemex pour over system, and which is I like my coffee. Coffee is important to me. I need my coffee every day. I do not have like I will use a drip machine
mhm.
because it like at some point my laziness overtakes my desire for like quality only in terms of some things like not here but in other places. um and and so there are mornings when I am very frustrated that I have to boil a kettle of water, grind the beans, fold the filter into
Mhm.
the Chemex thing.
Mhm.
Like it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I could have a machine have this ready for me already. But I understand where you're coming from in terms of like passion for coffee because I
Mm.
live with it.
All right. Well, you tell her that we're friends now because
Yeah.
that's I respect that. Also, if you want to, well, don't say this because if you say this, she might get the wrong idea and that you would buy one. But like a step up from the Chemex, but as a drip option, is in fact a Technivorm, and
Don't
it
don't
is.
if it costs money, I don't want to hear about
Yeah, no, you
it.
don't. You definitely don't. But I'm just saying, like, it's the
Yeah.
same like level of coffee snobbery as a Chemex, only in drip form, and costs quite a bit more than the Chemex.
Hmm.
I will admit, I'm a connoisseur, not a snob, in that I will drink cheap diner coffee all day long.
Yeah.
Um, my go-to right now is I got a Seiko like super automatic that like grinds and brews itself and all that for a steal on Marketplace, and that is the
Oh,
the only reason I own that piece of technology.
we had a Cuisinart one that
Mm.
ground and did everything.
Hmm.
And the carafe broke in a very Brady Marsha moment where our daughter kicked a soccer ball in the house for the first time ever in her entire life, and it just happened to sail perfectly up through the kitchen onto the counter and shatter the carafe of the coffee machine. At which point we were like, I'm not buying another one
Oh my
because it was our
goodness.
second one already. And we were just like, you know what? And that she went down the rabbit hole and was like, we're going to do this pour
Hmm.
over thing. And went out and bought all the stuff. And I'm actually not that like cranky about it. The only thing that really gets me cranky is having to fold the filter every morning. It's like you couldn't just manufacture this already folded. Like you really need me to do it just for the process.
It feels pretentious, right?
Yeah,
It's
it does.
So long story long, my note about coffee. So he fills his cup with coffee barely dark enough to hide the bottom. And he says it's both weak and bitter. And that's actually the thing that got me in that it's usually going to be one or the other. It's either going to be weak
I know,
or it's
which
going to
is
be
why it's
bitter.
so frustrating for it to be both.
Yeah, okay. If that's but the thing is I did convince myself. I said, "You know what though? It's weak and then it sat in the pot long enough to
Yeah,
get burnt and
yeah,
that's why it's both." But like it was worth noting and that like
yes.
there's something amiss here and I don't like okay, so we're
Sometimes it's just about putting two things together that make you just that much more frustrated.
mhm.
And especially if they're two things that don't seem like they should go together, it's like, God damn it, how can it be weak and bitter simultaneously?
Yep.
And yet it is.
Yeah, how can this be both too crunchy and too soft at the same
Yes,
time? Yeah,
yes.
exactly. So on to an actual comment
Okay.
about like real pros. So the ladies
Mhm.
that are described, I like their descriptors. I so describing people is always tough because what do you focus on? And I think too many people focus on physical attributes and you don't. And I like that in that you don't focus on the body image. But the imagery in my head and the reason why this stuck out is that um, it so okay the the descriptor you give set the scene because I get a feel for what's going on, the
Mhm.
clothing, the accents,
Mhm.
but I did not get a sense of what sets them apart from each other besides their names and how heavy their accents are. Like you went into a decent amount of detail about the clothes that they wear and their
Mhm.
accents, but then like literally nothing else about them. And so I immediately parsed them as two blank bodies in flannel nightgowns. Like they're just formless people with accents in clothes.
Mhm.
And I suppose the question is, was it intentional to not describe any of their physical attributes other than the clothes that they were wearing and the accents?
The answer is yes. And the answer is that it is something I do most of the time. So outside of like primary characters, right? So like even Elle, right? You could be deceived by thinking that I've described Elle and how she looks. And I think I've given like her hair color maybe, right? But I'll say like, oh, she put on this dress that accentuated her body or whatever, or that was very flattering or whatever. But I don't tell you what that means, right? Because one of my biggest pet peeves in writing is when an author introduces a character, first time the character's walking on the page, and they stop everything and give me 2 or 3 paragraphs about what the character looks like. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, is it important? Because I'll build the character in my head, right? I'll just like you give me a little bit and I'll build it out and then that's who it is. And
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what you're picturing as the author in your head. I know who it is in my head. And so my rule of thumb is for anyone that's not like a main character, and I try to do this for main characters too, but every once in a while, you just do something that like fits the mood, But if the detail is relevant to the story, so the example I always give is, you know, if if you tell me if you're describing a character and you tell me that they have red hair, right? And 4 chapters later, there's like, oh, I found a red hair at the crime scene, right? Well, now I'm like, okay, is that the connection? Is that the connection, right? But if you tell me they have red hair and it matters not to the story at all, even even if it like so it can matter in terms of like being a red herring, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm intentionally telling you this to misdirect you. But if it doesn't matter at all, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't care how tall they are unless it's relevant. I don't care what their body shape is. I don't care any of that unless it's relevant to the story. Um, and and so yes, the answer to your overall question is one, I generally intentionally do not over describe my characters. In fact, it's becoming a recurring theme on this show that I generally hold back as much information from the story, from the characters, from everything as I can. I'm very sparse in what I give out to the reader.
Hmm.
Um, but two, and I don't know if this has come up before already. I can't remember, or it comes up later, but in this podcast because we don't record these in order. But um, Erica and Robin are real people, and they are both from Texas,
Okay.
and they're they are like best friends, and there isn't a lot to distinguish them. They're
So,
almost the same person.
okay.
So that's kind of why I put them there like that. It's kind of like if you go back to Newhart, like I'm Larry, this is my brother, or I'm
My brother Daryl, my other
yeah,
brother
other
Daryl.
brother
Yeah.
Daryl, yeah. Like they're basically the same person, like sitting there together.
Just slightly different fonts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And to be perfectly honest, so if and when you read my books, I will frustrate you perhaps less than other authors. You don't get paragraphs. I think that's an absolute waste of space. I do give enough description that I feel satisfied with it, but I often under describe as well. And it started off, I think, because I subconsciously left it alone so that the reader can fill in whatever details they
Mhm.
want. Also, just from a representation like purpose is I don't need to describe every character as having an ethnicity or not,
Right.
unless I'm putting it there intentionally because it's culturally relevant
Mhm.
or because I'm trying to call out specific representation. Because I will just randomly add like a black, a Hispanic, an Asian or Indian character because I want to just casually add representation for people who are not white or, just same thing as like just casually, one of my characters in the new book, total throwaway side character that's relevant to a scene, and you never see them again, casually references his husband. So it's just
Hmm.
quick,
Yeah.
solid, like queer rep, but that's what that serves a purpose for. Um, but otherwise, I tend to under describe as well.
I think about it like this. Like there are characters in my books, both Dark White and Malcolm Karma, and my other works in progress, where I call out a race or ethnicity, um, or even a sexual orientation. And it's not, I am at no point like trying to make sure I have diversity in my books. I am at no point saying like, oh, well, this character should be this. It's literally that thing that authors talk about where like you close your eyes and you see the story playing out in your head and you see the person in your head that you see this character doing this thing and you see them as something and you just describe them that way, right? And you say, "Oh, this person is a black character or a,
Mhm.
you know, or a gay character or a female character or whatever," and it doesn't matter. And I think about that in terms of like, especially when I see movies being cast based on books and people like getting outraged over like characters' races or what they call being race swapped or something like that. Literally in all of my books, in, including the ones that haven't been published yet, you could cast the main character in any race, and I'd be like, fine, good, works for me because it doesn't matter to me. They're not a race in my head, right?
Mhm.
Malcolm Karma is not white in my head. In fact, of all the characters, he's probably the most ambiguously like just and there may be descriptors in the book that like lend itself towards being white, probably in terms of like talking about his hair comb back or whatever.
Mhm.
But that's only just because that's, my experience or whatever.
Mhm.
But like if they wanted to make a movie and make Malcolm Karma black, I'd be like, great, that's awesome, right? Like if they wanted to make Malcolm Karma Indian, I'd be like, hey, I can see that. Like Malcolm
Mhm.
Karma, like that works. Like go for it. If they like anything, I don't care. I the, none of it is important to the story, right? If it
Right.
was important to the story, then whatever. But like when they talk about casting a black James Bond and they're like, oh, that's so like it just it's not the character. I'm like, why? Why?
Mhm.
Who
Mhm.
cares? It doesn't, the story can happen exactly the same. It doesn't matter. So in terms of character description, that's just kind of where I land. Like,
Well, and for a first person POV, it also allows the reader to self-insert if they are of a mind to do so, which I
mhm,
like. I literally, so like Nick, my barista, I literally never describe him
yeah,
ever. And so like if you're reading the book, you're Nick.
yeah,
That's fine. You can everyone we are all Nick. We have all
yes.
had a shitty
I think you
retail
should sell
job.
t-shirts. We are all
We all
Nick.
Nick. I think it's going to get added to my merch. I think is
Yeah.
definitely part of it. Um, so yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I agree. The only I will say, and for the record, like I did follow some of the not drama, but some of the reading diversely stuff that's gone on in the world. And the only thing I will say is like, especially if we're talking about movies where they talk about um, characters being cast that are like the wrong race. I tend I so the fanboys that get all up in arms about like Idris Elba, they
God,
can
that
they
was
can
so my like
uh,
it was my fantasy. I was just it's all I wanted.
yeah.
All I wanted out of life was Idris Elba to be James
Oh,
Bond.
he's so good. But then like but the challenge is when the story is about or from a specific culture and they cast a white actor,
Yeah.
is
Well,
that like
obviously that's different.
well, it is, but that the problem is, and I want to say this out loud for the viewers at home, is like clearly there is a problem with one of these things and not the other.
Right. Which is literally what I was talking about in terms of like, is it important to the story, right?
Yep.
You know, if you cast a white girl as Pocahontas, that's not the same thing as casting a black Ariel,
Yep.
right? That those two things are so completely shockingly different in
hmm
terms of like what they mean that like it blows my mind that this is even a conversation that is had, you know?
It hurts. It
Yeah,
really does.
it does. All right. So
All right.
so we like Eric and Robin.
We do. But again, it was interesting enough to note because again,
Mhm.
I'm not huge on needing. Well, I'm not a fan of the Anne Rice 5 pages of description of the coffin kind of stuff. So like I don't need a lot, but I think even for me who doesn't need a lot, it was a little sparse.
I
But
and I think that what I would take from that, like if you were my editor, right, coming back to me with this, I
mhm,
think that what I would take from that is not needing to describe them differently physically, but perhaps they needed to sound more different in their dialogue so that you could distinguish that between the two. Because like if they were identical twins but had, different life experiences, then like they would look exactly the same, but they would talk differently. And I do think that there is a little bit of them sounding the
mhm.
same in terms of the way that they speak to Malcolm. Um, again, I'm gonna just lean on the crutch that they're real people and they do sound like that. Like, I
Uh,
don't know.
Totally fair. By the way, a little tidbit about me. I am an identical twin.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, my brother does not, in fact, write books. So it is a differentiator.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it actually gets into a little bit of this. So I'm going to go into some like technical stuff,
Okay.
because I've gotten a little opinionated about dialogue tags, and I'm gonna
Mm,
and I'm gonna say I'm probably not opinionated in the way that you think I'm gonna say, or at least not, or fear, one or the
mhm.
other. Um, I tend to not use dialogue tags when I can identify the owner of the dialogue in a different way. And so for in just below where we introduce the two women, um, one thing, you put a carriage return, then this is more a formatting thing. So Mal smiles
Mhm.
and then he speaks, but he smiles and then you start a new paragraph for him speaking.
Mhm.
So in that your action is the dialogue tag to identify who's speaking, but then you give a new paragraph. So part of me assumed that it wasn't going to be Mal speaking.
Okay.
It's not technically incorrect. Like I don't think there's anything technically wrong with what you did, but I would have left that on the same line. It's the I smile back at the sound of her voice, space, good morning, ladies, as opposed to carriage return, good
Interesting.
morning, ladies.
Interesting. That is interesting because I can see what you're saying in terms of like that acting as a dialogue tag.
Yeah.
And I certainly do use dialogue tags like that in
hmm
in my writing.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know that I generally use them before the dialogue,
Well,
right?
you just
So
you just you just did.
no, that's what I'm saying though, that like if I used it before the dialogue, I would think of it as not a dialogue tag and carriage return and start
Yeah.
the dialogue. But I could see myself using that same kind of thing as a dialogue tag after the dialogue and leaving it on the same line. And so I'm saying that this is an interesting, like, this is a learning moment for me
hmm
to go, okay, yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do both. Like I'll do some exposition to identify who's
Hmm.
speaking and then have dialogue happen,
Hmm.
and it'll still be part of the same paragraph. So you can do both.
Hmm. And for those of you that are under 30 years old, a carriage return is when you hit the enter button to move down to the next line, because in old typewriters, when you hit the enter button, the carriage that held the paper would actually return to its original position.
Sorry, I'm dying because of how called out I am right now.
Well, me too. Like I'm older than you, so don't worry about it. But
Are you are you Neil?
I think so. I'm going to be 48 next month, so
Okay, fair. You got I'm going to be 45 in
yeah.
December. So
So,
we're hey, you know
but
what?
we both have used actual typewriters.
This is
When
where we
Taylor
get to
Swift says, "Who uses typewriters anyway?" the answer is me.
in author speak though, we are contemporaries, Neil.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so more about dialogue though. Okay, so I said the thing about that, but then you do a thing with Erica. So she says, "I'm Erica." She says, "This is my," and then you do a little bit of emoting where or like you do some description of physicality, but then Erica continues speaking. So it
Uh-huh.
is confusing the way that you formatted it because that
I'm
should
looking
fe
for it right now.
yeah,
Hold on.
it's on the same page, page 35. It should it, at least in my mind, the way that I write it, and my editor has not corrected me so far, that would be one paragraph because you're effectively you're just doing some descriptor while the same character is speaking and nothing has changed, so it wouldn't go to a new
Hmm.
paragraph. And so in this, it literally says it the way that I would read is I would again have expected someone else to have said my friend Robin.
That is not my understanding of how that works. And we
Okay.
can have a deep and philosophical discussion about that, but she it's not a dialogue tag at that point, right? She is committing action, and the action becomes a new paragraph, and then we go back to the dialogue. It is the action. So you start a new paragraph for dialogue, for speech, for quotations.
Yep.
And then when you move on from that to, so you could say like, this is my, and you could say she lilts her head, friend. But if it's actual, like we're going to talk now, like she tilts her head a bit as if inspecting me, trying to turn,
Mhm.
like now we're going into like description and action and thought process. That's a different paragraph. And then so that's like the way that I was taught dialogue. But again, like despite what the people on TikTok would like you to believe, there is not one set in stone, this is the only way to do it. So I understand what you're saying, and I could see it written that way or formatted that way. But that would feel very uncomfortable to me in terms of like I would look at it and be like, I can't do it. I can't. I
So again, once you read my books, I'll just lull you into
you'll
accepting
slowly,
that.
yeah,
You'll
yeah,
be assimilated into the large paragraphs with both dialogue and action, so long as it's the same person.
person. Yeah. I have certainly seen those, and it doesn't, and so it's not like unheard of what you're
Yeah.
saying, but when I see them, I'm just like, oh, did nobody tell them to like separate this? And
It
I've even
doesn't,
in
yeah.
writers group seen like stuff like that and been like, no, you got to break this up. And I've had people go, no, you don't have to, because that's what writers group is great for, is just
Yeah.
creating drama between authors. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I respectfully disagree, but I could certainly have my mind changed over time and through subliminal messaging.
Yeah, and I will say though, it's interesting. I don't read physical media that much these days. I primarily consume
Me
audiobooks,
too.
which for the record, if you do like if you're picking up my books, just like hit I will send you codes for the audiobooks so you can listen along if you want. Just let me know if you
I
want
will
that.
let you know because I primarily do audiobooks too
Mhm.
for two reasons, um, or three as it turns out. One, I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read, but I can listen to books in the car going back and forth to work all day long, right?
Same.
Two, um, what I thought was an eye issue, uh, in terms of like I get tired reading. I like when I read books, I fall asleep very quickly, even if I'm sitting up. And I always thought that it was just because my eyes were bad and I needed glasses. But it turns out when I got on some ADHD medication, I was able to read without falling asleep. What are the shocker there, you know? But yeah, so between bad vision, ADHD, and time, sitting down to read a book is difficult for me. And since we have two authors here on the podcast simultaneously telling you that listening to audiobooks counts as reading, there doesn't need to be any more conversation about this. Okay.
Ever.
Authors tell you, the people that write the books tell you that listening to the audiobook counts as reading it. So everyone else can shut the fuck up.
Okay, let me add. So did you know that I narrate and produce my own audiobooks?
Did you know that I do too?
Fantastic. I mean, obviously, that's partly why we're doing this, right? Because
Yes.
people are listening to Malcolm Karma Cold Turkey, and then
Yes.
we're talking about it. So yes, I too. So what we can also tell the dear listeners and viewers is, it's actually more work for me to narrate and produce an audiobook than it is for me to write the damn thing.
Yes.
So if it doesn't count as reading, like honestly, like screw all of you who think that it doesn't count as
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason to say that listening to audiobooks doesn't count as reading is to be elitist and snobbish and try to diminish other people and make yourself feel superior. And so if you're a person hearing this that says that listening to audiobooks does not count as reading, I am telling you that you're being elitist, snobbish, and trying to make yourself feel superior, and you're not. Moving on.
Moving on, moving on. Okay, so my next note is very simple. Just that I love coffee. I got to the note about the rich, nutty smell and the deep mahogany color, and I was like, well, this is a nice descriptor of one of my favorite things.
Yes.
So yes, love coffee. Um, oh, so you may hate this. I'm not sure. This is again gets into the whole dialogue tags. So again, if you use a descriptor or if you use an action to tell me who the focus is on,
Hmm.
then you don't. This is where I've
Then I
gotten
don't need the dialogue
opinions.
tag, is what you're going to tell me.
Yeah,
Which line are we talking about?
Robin smiles. Only the best here, she says with a twinge of irony. So it's she smiles and then she speaks, and then you tell me that she spoke, except I already knew that she was going to be speaking. So I tend okay, I write for audiobooks to an extent
Mhm.
too, and I try to avoid she says any like I don't are you a fan of John Scalzi?
Not familiar with John Scalzi.
Oh man. Okay. John Scalzi, extremely prolific. And he had a book called Red Shirts.
Oh,
And
I know
then
red shirts. Yeah.
yeah, but then after he listened to the audiobook of Red Shirts, he realized how many times someone said something in his book. And so uh ever since I listened to him to or read whatever it was with him talking about that, I have been very conscious of not putting both an identifier of who is speaking and a dialogue tag in close proximity because one's unnecessary and no matter how much they'll tell you that he says she says
Are
becomes
invisible.
invisible,
They're
it's a
not.
lie. It's
Right.
an absolute lie.
So here's the thing, and this is the other dialogue tag conversation that gets had all the time, right? They want you to say he says, she says, and just leave it at that, right? They don't people will tell you, don't ever say like, I don't want to hear he whispered, she shouted, blah blah
Oh,
blah blah blah, and all
that's
that
bullshit.
stuff, right? And obviously that's bullshit because it can be relevant. But the other thing here is the wink, the nudge, the irony, where yes, Robin smiles. I told you that Robin's the one that's about to talk because she smiles, and then she says, "Only the best here," she says, with a twinge of irony because they're in this low rent motel with a gravel parking lot, and
Hmm.
she's sitting on a folding card table in plastic lawn furniture, and she's saying only the best here. So I wanted to I can tell you for sure that what I was wanting to say is like that irony of the situation, only the best
Hmm.
here considering the surroundings, and you don't get that by just saying Robin smiles, only the best here.
Oh no, I think my point isn't to take out the twinge of irony.
Hmm.
You could describe the smile as feeling vaguely ironic. You could, and if I was going to rewrite this
Hmm.
line, what I
Hmm.
would probably write is only the best here. Robin gestures ironically at the dirt covered table or whatever. So like
Okay.
there's ways you could do it without putting a dialogue tag since again, Robin smiles. I know Robin's speaking. Only the best here. She gestures at the half broken armchair that she's sitting on ironically.
Okay. I can see that. I'll take that. I'll take that critique for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Cool, cool, very cool. All right. Let's see. Oh, but then I think it was then you formatted it in the way that I would have because the on the next page it's exactly Robin agrees and then Robin keeps talking because you used
Hmm.
agrees as your dialogue tag, so
Yeah.
the dialogue continues.
But there weren't but there wasn't action in there. It
Right,
was just,
right.
yeah.
But to me, I don't feel like I have to divorce action from my dialogue. So that's why I was like, no, look, you did it
I
right here.
I understand. I understand. But do you see where I make that distinction?
I do
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, like in the I don't neither of us is telling each other that we're doing it wrong.
No. Yeah.
But it's definitely a like reading your book doesn't offend my sensibilities, just like reading my book isn't going to
Yeah.
offend yours, but neither of us is going to write like that.
Yeah. Although maybe
Maybe,
I
who
change
knows?
all the time. Like
Yeah.
I am not a stoic that's like this is the way.
Oh, I will say, the I think a contender for best line in chapter five,
Hmm.
or possibly best line in the first five chapters. I don't know about after that. I haven't had a chance to read more than like
Yeah.
I committed to
Most
reading
people have
up.
only read up into the chapter that they're going to talk about,
Yeah.
and most of them say that it's because they just didn't want to like influence their opinion by the other thing. But whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me. It makes sense
Yeah.
anyway.
Competing for best line,
Hmm.
the first floor has two doors that appear to be competing for the title of last door you'd ever want to step through. I love that line. Like that's a line that I would want to have written. So
Hmm.
like I really like that. It fits the character so well. And again,
Uh-huh.
like just getting back to like race and ethnicity, like
Uh-huh.
what race is Mal? Bitter. What
Yes.
what ethnicity is he? Grizzled.
Yes.
Like he's this is the kind of line that the whole hard-bitten detective thing is
Uh-huh.
like so good right here in that line.
Yeah. I actually love the fact that like it's a great I agree. I felt good about writing that line, but then I do like the follow-up to it, which is I smile to myself because I know it doesn't matter which door you choose. They both lead to the same stripped out bare beans room. Like
Mhm.
it's not like one goes to one place and one goes to the other. They both go to the same place.
Yeah, reminds me of like Train Spotting, the worst toilet in
Oh my
London
God,
or
that
in
scene
Scotland.
will I yes.
Haunt my
Haunt my
dreams.
dreams for the rest of my life.
We don't need to speak anymore
No,
about that.
no.
Okay. So something that I thought was a contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Mal calls so I'm down on like page 41. So the two toughs.
Mm-hmm.
So you call them tough guys,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But then he throws he throws a bunch of punches,
Mm-hmm.
but the punches are persistent but weak.
Mm-hmm.
To which I feel like if tough guys is a moniker and you're being sarcastic, but if they're actually like street toughs or street heavies, I like it felt contradictory that they would throw weak punches.
Mm-hmm. I th
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I think in my head, like, and the way I always picture it is like they're a bunch of kids that think that they're tough guys. And I think that I try to like uh bear that out in kind of some of the dialogue later on, especially with Alex, towards the end of the chapter. And you may have this already in there, but he says those guys don't work for me. They just think they do.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're just a bunch of kids that think that they're hot shit, you know. And if you've ever been in like, I think back to like, uh, man, when I was in college, right? And so I was like, 19 years old. Like I'm still nobody, right? But I'm from Chicago and I go to college up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, right?
Mhm,
And I'm sitting on the stoop in front of the student union, and these junior high kids are coming up to me being like, "Yo, motherfucker, give me a cigarette." It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, "Man, I will beat your ass." And I'm like, dude, do you even know where you are? Like, this is La Crosse, Wisconsin. Like, I'm from fuck off. But they thought they were toughs,
very tough.
they thought because for them, like La Crosse was the biggest city in like
Mhm,
100 miles. And I'm like, I have been to like podunk corn farm suburbs of Chicago that are bigger than this. Like, go
mhm.
away. Like I am like nothing you're gonna do is gonna like impress me. And that's kind of how he feels. He's like, go away, guys. Like, don't make this like
So,
don't make this be a thing.
this is where I think your penchant for not describing people, it makes it ambiguous
Okay.
because Mao is the kind of person that would say that to a brick shit house.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is you don't use tough guys in quotes. You just use it flat. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how literal you're being when you
Okay.
describe that. So
Mm-hmm.
you say that they're tough guys, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're willing to pick a fight with this hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that doesn't mean that they're tough, but it just means that my expectations weren't met.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that you have to write to meet my expectations, but just as a reader,
No,
that was
it's important.
surprising. It was
Yeah.
surprising to me that they threw weak punches because they got the drop on him. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
he takes a right hook that drops him to a knee. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not like, yes, taking a hit to the face is different than like rabbit punches to the kidneys,
Mm-hmm.
but like
Also,
it,
you're not ready for a punch to the face. It
yeah,
takes you to like, like
exactly.
my kid could hit me and like knock me over once, you know?
When my son was 3, he punched me in the nose and I fell over. So
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah,
Like it can happen,
yeah,
but only once,
right,
right? And then he's like up and being like, okay, now you guys are fucking pissing me off.
right. So just as
I
far as
understand
that
what you're
goes,
saying though,
yeah,
like in
yeah.
terms of like being confusing.
Mhm.
I get it. And I take that note.
Okay. So then one quick note,
Mm-hmm.
then Mal breaks the guy's wrist
Mm-hmm.
with a quick twist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have a lot of fighting experience, but like I did historic European martial arts for like a number
10,
of
15
years.
years, I'm a triple black belt. Not much fighting experience, but I've got
No,
it.
but like no, this was like swords and daggers type stuff. So
Yeah.
like, but we did wrestling and some other stuff. So like, I'm familiar with the body, and I did like a year of
Mm-hmm.
Aikido. So I'm familiar enough with body mechanics that sometimes I get a little persnickety about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern is that a quick twist of like, unless Mal has an iron grip on this guy,
Mm-hmm.
a quick twist is
Mm-hmm.
unlikely to just literally break his wrist. A quick twist might dislocate something, but also the guy isn't just gonna, like, again, unless you're immobilizing the forearm and then twisting the hand,
Mm-hmm.
the the dude isn't gonna just stand there and let his wrist get broken with a quick twist.
Mm-hmm.
So that felt a little unrealistic to me from a body mechanic perspective.
I will take that note. I will take that note with grace, and then I will invoke John Wick and
The
the
rule of
idea
cool.
that is, you know, at at some point, like the research into exactly how much torque is required to, like, for a book like this,
Mhm.
um becomes like unnecessary. Like, we've got a guy fighting, like he gives a quick twist to the wrist and he snaps his wrist, and like it's the John Wick, like the man can get shot 18 times and all he's got is like a Kevlar suit and he's like walks through it. Like, okay, like, you know, yes. Is it real? No. We have a thing in fiction called suspension of
Yep.
disbelief, and I'm going to lean on it real heavy.
Okay, for the record, I love Keanu Reeves so much.
I do too.
So,
And
um,
I am desperate, desperate, desperate to get to New York to see Waiting for Godot with
uh,
Keanu Reeves and what's his name from Bill and Ted. Like, if you've seen them, uh so it's him and his co-star from Bill and Ted's,
oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing Waiting for Godot.
Yep.
And I just like, it's the only thing I can think about right now. And it's
I mean, go to it. Seeing movie stars do stage can be so great. I actually got to see I got to see Adam Driver in like an off-Broadway production. So yeah, if you can make it,
I
go. But
my entire career has been in theater and that kind of stuff, and I've met many a movie star and even done some stage play stuff with them, and it doesn't get old. It's very exciting to meet people that you admire
mm,
and see them do great work. Um, and but yeah, I deeply adore Keanu Reeves, and I deeply adore Waiting for Godot, and I would love to see that. And everything I'm seeing right now just makes me like super, like, I hope that they take like the Lin-Manuel Miranda approach and they just shoot it at some point
mm.
and make it available.
Oh, that would be so good.
Yeah.
Also, it's in my bio, but no one reads bios. So little known fact, my undergraduate degree is in theater.
My undergraduate degree would have been in theater if I had finished my undergraduate degree. But
Fair.
instead, I came home one summer and got a job at a theater, and then met a bunch of people that were working. It was an equity theater, and got met a bunch
Oh,
of people.
nice.
And I was in studying directing and technical theater, and
Hmm.
they were like, someone was like, "Hey, Neil, I'm supposed to do this lighting call next week. I can't make it. Can you fill in for me?" I was like, great. And over the course of the summer, just started working in theater. And I was like, I am paying, and granted,
Yeah.
like this was back in, you know, the 90s, but I was like, I'm paying $14,000 a year to study to do what they're paying me to do right now.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to do this.
It's one of the few like, and especially for tech, like I was a techie too. So like it's one of the few industries where like real experience is worth
Way
its weight
more.
in
Oh,
gold. Yeah.
the people that I was working with were like, "So what are you going to school for?" And I was like, "Theater." And they're like, "What the fuck are you doing that for?" They're like, "You're already doing that. Go there. I'm not telling you not to go back to school, but go back to school and get a degree in something else. Like, if you want to do theater, you don't need a degree to do that. You're here doing it." Like,
Look,
and I was
I
like, "Oh shit." And then so my love of theater started very, very young from my mother, but my true like push into it was when I was 10 years old and saw Les Miserables for the first time, right?
Ooh.
And I saw Les Miserables on its first run, for first off, outside of New York run, and it was in Chicago at the Auditorium Theater at Roosevelt University.
Mm.
And I was 10 years old, and I got my best friend, his uncle was the sound guy for it. And so we got to go on stage and sit in the
Oh,
barricade and meet all the actors and see how the dresses drop from the ceiling and stuff. And I was like, that's it. This is what I want to do, right?
life-changing.
And so when I was in my 20s and got to technical direct a performance on the stage at the Auditorium Theater in Chicago, I was like, that's it. Like, I did it. Like, this is
Yeah.
like, what else do I want? Right? Other than to make more money.
Yeah.
But like, I am full circle. And then I've directed shows on every stage that was ever important to me. Like the Airy Crown is where I saw the first play I ever remember. It was Peter Pan. I was like 4 years old. I directed a show on that stage. I directed a show on a stage at the Auditorium Theater. I've directed McCormick Place. I've directed Airy Crown. I've like everything. So at that point I was like, whatever. Like college, like agreed. Like I should have gone and gotten a degree in engineering, but in terms of wanting to be in theater, I got everything I needed. So
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the only reason I have a degree in theater is because I hated trying to get a degree in business. And, it was that or drop out of school. And my parents basically said, you're going to finish your degree. We don't care what it is.
yeah.
I was like, all right, then it's going to be theater.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because my mom had a master's degree in economics and my dad had a PhD in physiology and biochemistry. And when I said, yeah, like I'm just going to stop going to college and just do theater since I'm already doing it, they were like, okay.
Makes sense.
And I was like, okay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's really a trade. So
It is.
like it's one of those things where it makes sense to
I mean,
talk about it like that.
this is so off topic for
Yeah, sorry,
the show.
folks.
No, it's okay. But I did theater for so long, and then eventually I wanted to be able to eat and pay rent at the same time, and so I got into audiovisual, and I was doing like audiovisual, and then I started doing lighting more heavily, and then I started doing production management, and I have been all over this country producing big trade shows and keynote speakers, and I've met like celebrities and worked with all sorts of people doing shows all over the country, and now I'm tired of all of that and I'm back home doing like small stuff again, just trying to be home as much as I can and write as much as I can. But yeah, like I went as far as a person can realistically go. They started asking me to sell things, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm out.
Yeah,
But I went as far as you can go in terms of like doing production work, uh, just from starting out, in high school theater.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, sorry, just let's circle all the way back to
Yeah.
my comment about the fighting and things. So for those at home, if you're going to write scenes where someone's going to break something, immobilize it first and then break it. Just remember that. So if you're
Immobilize, then break.
yep, if you're going to break a wrist, immobilize the forearm and then break the wrist. It's
Okay.
just okay. Next note was just that Mal seems to go through a lot of shirts, specifically cuffs,
Yeah.
because like this was not the first shirt that he's gotten soaked in some bodily fluid that he then had to replace. So I was like, I hope the guy's got a budget for shirts.
It's true. It is a trope in the genre, and I lean on it.
I mean, I'm not against it. It was like,
Yes.
damn, man.
Yes.
It's like if at some point in another book he just makes a note about how he thrifts his shirts just because he goes through so many of them, I
That would
wouldn't
be
be
funny.
mad about it.
I
Yeah.
should.
You can have that one for free.
Yeah.
If it shows up, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. Another body mechanic note. Um, and again, like if you want, take the note. If not, whatever. I get rule of cool is always understandable. So the next thing after he gets his shirt bloody, so he steps back and grabs him by his right wrist with both hands. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Mal has his wrist in both hands. I two-step around him and pull his arm up behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives it a jerk and feels the ball joint pull out of the shoulder socket.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing that I had a problem with isn't the stepping and it isn't even the shoulder dislocation. It's again the both of his hands are on the wrist,
Mm-hmm.
and what you really want is a hand on the wrist to twist it behind his body, immobilize him with the other hand, and then jerk the arm up to
Okay.
dislocate the shoulder. So basically, like if I'm thinking about this in an Aikido way, the way that you would get the do the two step, you'd grab the wrist and then basically do like a half circle step behind while bringing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a little awkward from a body mechanic perspective. So I totally got what you were going for, and and again, it works, but in the future, if you're gonna do that, you'd probably want the each hand in a different place
Okay.
than both on the wrist. Because again, also the you have to be restraining him some way
Mm-hmm.
because with two hands on the wrist, you're not actually going to get your two step behind the guy unless you're like lightning fast. No,
Mm-hmm.
no one's standing around waiting for their arm to get pulled behind their body. So
Sure.
that's why it's a I'm going around while also like doing something else.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Good note.
Um, okay. Oh, maybe just a funny note. No, I'm not sure. But I focus on the coffee. So you have a note after he gets in and talks to Alex, and he says Alex just about chokes on his coffee. And my note is, where's the coffee? Because you don't actually mention when we introduce Alex that he's drinking a cup of coffee. He's surprised to see him. He talks. So he's not actively drinking, so he's Alex is talking, and then suddenly Alex is about to choke on his coffee. So like if it was I don't follow, he says, then takes what puts his coffee cup to his mouth. I well, so I guess the note is just where's the coffee?
Man, you are that is not just a note I'll take. That is a note of like, oh my God, how did I never like in all the hundreds of times I've read this and had other people read it, how have I never noticed that I don't mention that he has a cup of coffee until then?
Did you have anyone as coffee obsessed as I was read it?
Probably, well, I had, yes, my partner
Oh,
read the book.
I was going to ask, did your partner read the book?
Yes,
Because then
absolutely. She is my number one
yeah.
go-to. Like she's the first person to read everything I write.
I my partner is the first to hear what I write because I actually read my work to them.
I read it to her while I'm writing it,
Yep.
and then when like I'll come to her and be like, "Oh, you got to hear this chapter. It's
Ah,
so good," or whatever. And then when it's done, I print it out and she reads the whole thing.
so you understand clearly, and again, this is notes for other people. The importance of reading your work aloud
Mhm.
cannot be overstated.
No, I read it out loud even when it's not to her. I will sit there and read chapters out loud to myself at my desk
Hmm.
because because
Yep.
the prose is music, right? It's got to have rhythm. It's got to have a cadence to it. And so it's you have to read it out loud to hear. And this is where I get like really like this is where I like puff up my chest and get real nasty with like the grammar Nazi like pedantic grammar people because for me, punctuation is literally like rests and stops in music. Okay. So you can come at me with the Chicago style of grammar all you want. Um,
If I want my reader to take a breath and pause, I'm going to put a fucking comma there. If I want
Yeah.
them to take a longer breath and pause, I'm going to put a semicolon there. I don't care if it's supposed to be or not. That's how I'm telling them how to read the prose,
Hmm.
right? Because I am writing music here, and it has a flow, and it has a rhythm, and it has a cadence, and it has meter and punctuation. Because think about, I mean, keep in mind that original English writing didn't have punctuation at all. There was no periods, commas, anything. It was just, there was barely spaces. It just ran and ran and ran and ran, and you had to figure out where anything was supposed to stop. We started putting punctuation in for the purposes of telling readers where to take a breath, right? And
Hmm.
we're just taking that to the logical conclusion of this is music and these are rests and this is what so I will not ever apologize for my punctuation. And absolutely, that's just how I like tell people, take a breath here, take a full breath here, take, you know, the fucking I saw your video about like the M dash thing. Like
Oh my
I
God.
will stab you in the eye if you come
Uh,
after my M dashes. Like
so
that
I
is
will.
how people talk. You want to write real dialogue? Nobody finishes a sentence. You want to write real dialogue? A person's talking and then it just stops. And how do you do the stop? An M dash. That's like fuck you people.
So culturally speaking, like just to out myself a little, so like so I think I mentioned I'm Jewish. And if there's one thing that Jews do, it's a thing called cooperative overtalk. If you haven't
I,
heard
I
of
just
that,
I just have to stop and just point out like
yes.
my partner is Jewish as well. So
Okay.
like I am Jewish by marriage.
So
And
you get it.
yes, I am 100% like on board with you.
Yeah. So, but like if you wrote a bunch of dialogue that was just a bunch of Jewish people sitting in a diner talking to each other, it would be nothing but M dashes
Yeah.
because literally everyone is being interrupted at every point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But also the standard disclaimer of AI learned from real authors, and that's why it overuses M dashes
Because
because it's
authors overuse
yeah.
M
Well,
dashes.
and because it's a fucking idiot and
Yeah.
doesn't understand how to use them right. So
Yeah.
like please, everyone's got to stop trying to come for us for our M dashes because you can pry them from my cold, dead Oxford comma fingers.
Yes. Yes. Um
Ah.
I don't even remember where we got on that rant.
So we were talking about coffee. It was about coffee. I don't know how we
Oh,
got
he
here,
had the
but
coffee.
yeah,
He
yeah.
yeah. Um all right.
Okay. I literally have a typo format for you that you're gonna hate me for.
Okay. I'm
On the
looking
next
at the thing right now.
on the next page, on page 43, you have a quotation going in the wrong direction after your M dash for Mal at the top.
My pages aren't lining up for you. What is it?
Oh, I'm in the PDF. So he says Mal. Mal, end quote. He's trying to be professional now.
Uh-huh.
The quote is good. It's a
Oh, it
wrong.
does. Oh my God. How the hell did that get through? That's funny. I wonder how I would even fix that.
How you would fix. I mean, you
Also,
theoretically,
that's a hyphen, not an M dash. There's two problems there.
it looks like an M dash to me.
Oh, does it? On
Yeah,
mine, it looks wrong.
in my copy, it looks like an M dash, but the quote's going the wrong way.
The quote is going the wrong way. I wonder how I would fix that because obviously, like, I didn't, there isn't a separate key for it, start quote, end quote.
No, but it's whatever you're writing it in. So like, I don't know how you if you do your own formatting. Like I use Atticus.
I use Vellum, but
Vellum, yeah,
I write in Scrivener.
right. But in so can you edit things in Vellum after you format them?
Yeah.
So it's probably you probably just need to go replace like backspace, add a quote.
Oh,
It'll probably put the quote in the right direction.
that's weird. I
Like
can't.
that's how I would have to do it in Atticus, is if it had the wrong quote, I would just have to replace it in Atticus.
That's the problem is that, well, and not the problem, but like literally for those of you out there that are like, do I need an editor, right? There is no software program in the world that will catch this. This is a person seeing it. And you know what? I had a dozen people edit this.
Hmm.
And nobody, you're the first person to point that out. So literally, if you're sitting here going, well, why do I, I can just use software to edit. Software will catch spelling mistakes if the word doesn't exist. It will not catch RED versus READ because they're both real words.
Hmm.
Um, Software will only catch so much, and you need real human people with real human eyes to find things like this. So that's super, super good. I'm making an actual note of that.
Yeah, and again for the listeners, if you can't, this is something that not like if you wanted to go the most bare bones possible, a proofreader should theoretically catch this. So like you don't have to pay for a developmental edit to get
No,
your manuscript proofed. So like and for also just Neil, you know this and I know this, and fuck, Brandon Sanderson knows this. There's no way your book is going to go into production
without a
without
typo.
having a typo.
Yep.
So like
Yeah.
my
Oh, it's fun. Go to Barnes and Noble and just start going through the aisles, pick up books and flip through them. It won't be hard. You'll be able to find typos in books like really fast.
Yep.
Skim 10 pages on 10 different books and you'll find a typo.
Hmm.
It is impossible to not be there.
Yep, I'm having my oh, actually, can I talk about a new project at the
Yeah,
end?
absolutely.
Okay,
You can
at
talk
the
about
end
it
there.
now. I don't care.
I have one more comment on the
Okay.
manuscript. Just
Okay.
just one more note. And this is where it's going to get a little it's going to be a little, I don't know, it's not pedantic, but like so there's one type of reader that you always have to be careful of, and those readers are gun people.
Oh, fuck, I know.
Because if you fuck up guns, they are coming for you.
Yeah, they will.
I don't know why. I don't know who hurt them. It's
Well, somebody, because that's why they're into guns.
yes.
Like, let me be really clear. Like, I have a book of guns. I have the book of guns on my shelf, and I use it for reference when I'm writing, right? And I have fired a gun. My ex-wife took me to a firing range for Father's Day one year because she said, you're writing about guns, you should probably have fired one. And I spent an afternoon at the firing range firing different guns. Um, so I have fired guns. I have books on guns
Mhm.
that my partner recently said, like, why do we have that book of guns? Can we get rid of that? And I was like, no.
No, that's
um,
research.
yeah, sorry, I need that. Um, and yet I am a very staunchly anti-gun person. I think guns belong in fiction. And so I try really hard to get guns right because I know that the gun people will come at me. The only thing worse than gun people?
Is it horse people?
Car people.
Okay, car people
Fuck up
too. Yeah.
anything about a car. Like you say, like I was driving a 95 Chevy this and it was blue. They'll be like, there wasn't a blue one that year. Be like, fucking sorry, man. Like
Well, actually,
um yeah, so it's gun people and car people, but tell me what I fucked up on guns.
you didn't fuck it up. You describe it in a way that is factually correct. But I don't think I have ever heard a semi-automatic pistol referred to as a handgun with a slide. So it is a
Yes.
handgun with a slide, but it is a semi-automatic pistol. And to be perfectly frank, the important descriptor is the barrel like a largemouth bass.
Yes.
That's great. That part is great because then he says it's a 45. Yes, a 45 has a barrel like a largemouth bass.
Yeah.
However, it felt weird for you to read an oily looking black handgun with a slide. I would have probably rather seen he has an oily looking black semi-automatic with a barrel like a largemouth bass.
Mm. The problem is this,
Uh-huh.
and this is what the gun people don't understand.
Hmm.
Most people aren't gun people.
It's true.
And so they don't know that a semi-automatic automatically is a gun that has a slide, because they don't understand that, like, the whole point of a semi-automatic is that it pulls back, it
It
ejects the bullet.
racks itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it re-racks itself, right. So for them, for most people, there's two types of guns, right?
Hmm.
There is a revolver,
Yep.
and then there's the kind that has the slide on it, right?
Yeah.
Because from their point of view, both guns are semi-automatic in terms of being able to continuously pull the trigger and it continues to fire.
So
Because a revolver does the same thing.
I'm gonna disagree with you there. I'm also gonna say that you need to trust your readers a little bit more, because in the day and age of 15 different Law and Orders and John Wick, pretty much everyone knows that if you say a semi-automatic pistol, it's the one with the slide. Because if you didn't, you would have said revolver, and honestly, no one uses revolvers anymore. Like if we're going for the hard-bitten detective trope, he'd have a snub-nosed 38.
Right.
And then you'd have to describe that it was a revolver because that's important in some way. But like you can generally trust a reader in the current age to understand that semi-automatic pistol means it's got a slide.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for it. I have less faith in the general. Well, you know what? I'm going to make a lot of I'm going to get a lot of unfollowers and make a lot of enemies right now. But I was going to say I don't trust our general population and readership to have that kind of information. On the other hand, or to be that, you're talking about trust your reader to be smart enough. And then on the other hand, like, well, if you're not smart enough, then you're probably a gun person, and so you would know. So never mind.
So here's the thing. I don't know if you have kids.
I do.
Or okay. Um, Ask your kid to describe a semi-automatic pistol without anything else. Just say, describe for me a semi-automatic pistol. And I bet they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's like that one with the, so like point is, if children know what a semi-automatic pistol is, your average reader
Okay,
is gonna know.
fair enough.
But another thing, one, if the reader doesn't know and they're not a gun person, they don't care. They accept that this person has an oily looking handgun, and that's all that matters.
But if they are a gun person, they're
They
pissed off.
care.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
yeah.
So, playing to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. So you said that that was your last note, but I gotta
Yeah.
say, like there are moments in my writing where I'm like, have these stupid moments of pride, and I'm waiting for someone to recognize them. And so you don't have a note of like, hey man, watch yourself. This is bad karma. Like you're living up to your name. Like that didn't register as like something worth like saying, hey, Neil,
So
you are too into yourself right here.
I I had look, I did have I mean, like he's not, so this is Alex says it to him.
Uh-huh.
So he's not into himself.
No, I'm talking about
But
me.
oh yeah, no. But I will say like it was definitely a roll credits moment.
Yeah.
It's like, up there it is. There's the
Yeah.
but like
We
I
have a
call
title.
yeah, I called out the line about like the doors because like
Uh-huh.
that was like that hit me in a way.
Yeah.
Like I laughed at the this shit is bad karma, but like
Yeah, but
yeah.
it was like building up to this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
got
yeah.
it's like at some point you just have to hang the lantern on it,
Oh, you do. Yeah,
Like
yeah, absolutely. Has to be done.
yeah, it
Yeah.
has to be done. It has to
Yeah.
be, there's this movie from the 80s called The Wizard of Speed and Time. It's terrible, terrible B movie. But
Mm.
at some point in the movie, someone goes like, "Oh my God, he's like a wizard of speed and time," and they turn to the camera and they go, "We have a title."
Oh my God. I mean, I love a good or even bad fourth wall break.
Yeah,
Like fourth wall breaks are one of my favorite things in
yeah,
like media.
yeah.
So I'm here for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was going at. Like I have all these like stupid little like just things that are for myself that
Yeah, you have
like
to.
in my head like this is like looking at the camera and being like
Hmm.
this shit's bad karma, you know. Um and
Oh,
it's
tongue in cheek stuff is
yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it just it's that comedic relief, right? I
Hmm.
don't think of myself as being particularly funny. I don't think I'm very good at funny. I don't think I could write comedy, but I'm able to do like little things here and there. And you know, my partner will be reading my stuff and she'll be like, "See, this is funny. You got to have more of this." Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know how I did that, so I can't like just do it again. You can't just be like, do more of this. I don't know how I did that. It just
Yeah, let me just magic that up. Thanks.
yeah, like I'm not a comedian that can just be like, here is the formula to doing something funny.
Hmm.
Like sometimes it just comes out and it feels right, but yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with that. All right, well, that's a good review of chapter 5 for sure. Now you said you had something else you wanted to bring up about your book.
Oh yeah, and I honestly I don't remember where we were talking about it, like what how it made sense for me to mention it. It felt relevant at the time, but again, going back to the whole the niche that I've made for myself in magical realism, I have another book that I wrote that is likely going to be coming out probably end of January, maybe in February, called My Brother's Keeper. That's entirely based on Jewish magic and mysticism. Like
Oh,
like by the book. Like no one understands just how much demonology is in Jewish scripture. Um and yeah, so it's relevant for that. We were talking about it was like right before the gun thing, and I was like, oh, let me just get through this thing, and now I've totally forgotten why. Oh, no, I know why. I know why. We were talking about proofreading. And I was so my manuscript for my brother's keeper is currently with my proofreader,
uh-huh.
where she is going to work to eliminate all but one or two typos, because inevitably,
There
no
will still,
matter,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, there
but
will
yeah, so
absolutely.
but that book is entirely based on Jewish magic. It's a Jewish protagonist.
I would love to read that too. Like
I
that would be a lot of fun. You know, my partner and I are both atheist, secular humanist. You know, I come from a Christian, you know, background in terms of like a long time ago. But my you know my dad was an atheist. My brother's an atheist. I'm an atheist. My mom said she was religious, but I don't think she was. Um, but like Christianity's in the history there. And my partner, she's you know an atheist, secular, humanist Jew, and so is her whole family. But the Jewish tradition is super like really important and much more important than like the Christianity history in my family is. So we're essentially just a Jewish family.
Yeah.
And we do Christmas and Hanukkah, but we do all of the Jewish holidays. And it's great for my kids because they get to like experience like this whole other culture that they're not, hadn't been exposed to before. And for me, it's so much I like it so much better anyway, like just the traditions and the food, frankly, is what it really comes down to. It's really about the food.
it
Um
it's always
but
about the food.
but yeah, so I think that would be super fun to read and share with her as well.
Yeah, and I was raised Reform, so I am Jewish. Um
That's what she
yeah.
says that too.
Yeah. But also like I love the idea of humanistic Judaism. It's
Yeah.
all of the culture without
Yeah.
the religion
Yeah.
bits. So yeah, I've had a really like long, broad spiritual journey that's come back around to me just accepting more about my Jewish cultural identity, which also is
Yeah.
part of what led to writing this book.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would love to share it with you when
Yeah.
I get to the point where, like, if once I open up advanced reads,
Yeah. I'd
I'll
love
send
to arc read it. Yeah.
I'll send you a note.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Blair calls herself a bagel and cream cheese Jew, and but her daughter is like super into her Jewish identity,
Hmm.
and like is like asking if she can be bat mitzvahed and asking like if she can go to shul and all of this stuff, and she's like, I mean, yeah, you like if you can convince your dad, like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, And so yeah, it's super exciting to see that too. Hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, it's it's a really really good cultural, like we're all, the more that we can identify with everybody and just like understand all the different cultures, the more we can stop like hating each other for all of it. And that's all I'm looking for in life, is just if we can all just like, why can't we all just get along, like Rodney King and all. But yeah. So, well, that's fantastic. Give us give us a plug as to where people can find you, Ben.
All right. You can find me at benschenkman.com. I also have links to all of my socials there. I'm on every social media except for the artist formerly known as Twitter. I don't go there. That's a terrible place.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, you can find I'm on TikTok and Instagram and Blue Sky and all that stuff. But my website's an easy way to get in touch with me. You can always contact me there. If you do like getting free early copies of books, I have a regular sign up on my website for my ARC team. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free short story that is a prequel to My Boss is the Devil. And the title of that book, I'm also like, I love the titles in my books. I'm like overly proud of them. And the prequel is called The Thief of Joy.
I love it. Yeah, no, your titles are great, and that's a super super fun opportunity. Make sure you send me links to all those things so I can put them in the show notes so that
Yeah,
people can just link right to all of those wonderful things. And thank you, Ben, for coming on and giving us your feedback on chapter 5. I really appreciate it.
yeah, I love chapter 5, and this has been a great conversation. Thanks for having me, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to let you know, one of the things that a bunch of guests have asked me about and that we are starting to talk about as an option is when I wrap this up, after we've done all the chapters, we're going to try to have one big get together of all the guests and talk about the book as a whole and how things changed in your perspective from the chapter that you read for your for today, for your episode, versus how it played out in the end. So if you choose to finish the book and want to participate in that, let me know as well, because I think it'd be a lot of fun to have everyone come back and be like, oh, I was thinking this, on the chapter that I read, and it turned out differently. So
Yeah, sign me up.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Ben, and we will see you around.
All right. Thanks,
All
Neil.
right. Thanks. Bye.